Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the IDP podcast. I am pumped up today because we got none other than Jose Pina, pineapple in Spanish for those of you guys that are wondering. We got him here today with an interview. Jose, man, how you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing good. How about you? Thanks for having me on.
Of course, man. No, wonderful. You know, whenever I can, so for those of you that don't know, and I'm sure nobody knows, I met Jose through NowRep, and
Right.
we had Charles and Veronica come on, and that's an episode that's coming out this Friday, or tomorrow, but this one's going to come out, I'm not sure when. But anyways, long as, so I met him there and, kind of got to know him a little bit. And he, talking about, from what I understand, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, you're kind of the expert on nonverbal communication, correct?
Yes, I know quite a bit on nonverbal communication. You could say that.
And that to me is huge, especially for us that are trying to close deals or, you're trying to assess a client, figure out, okay, because you can sit there and say something, but somebody can say something, but their reaction could mean something else. And so when I came across that, I was like, oh, I gotta have this guy on. I've got to have this guy on. So Jose, tell us a little bit about yourself, my friend.
Jose Pina. Let's see. Just personal stuff. Originally from Mexico. Been here in the States for a long time already. Just kind of grew up normal lifestyle. School, did okay. Did sports, did the whole shebang.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of dealing into business too, kind of how I got into this. I originally wanted to, not how I got into this, but the background to it. Originally from school, just wanted to do mechanical engineering. And that's just from a family side, because I have a lot of family members who are engineers, oil and gas, or doctors or things like that. So very technical things. And then my dad himself was also an engineer, electrical mechanical engineer. So I grew up with a lot of terminology, a lot of really analytical explanations to everything, like life-related or business related or whatever. Something broke down, I got the analytical side of the explanation of why.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of just a little bit of background, I guess, from school and a little segue as we move forward here. What else about me? I don't know, man. I like to do a lot of stuff for fun. I got some guilty pleasures. Reading now is one. It never used to be. Gaming is another guilty pleasure of mine.
Okay. I gotta pause you on there. Are you PC, Xbox, or PlayStation?
You know what? I grew up with PlayStation, but recently, because I actually had to sell my PlayStation, I went to PC because it's what I have.
Okay.
So I do some bit of PC gaming here and there. So that's a guilty pleasure of mine, how I like to spend my extra quote unquote time.
I will say this, man. I follow your Instagram. I don't know where the heck you find the time, because every time I look, I see you're driving to the studio, or you're driving out of town, or you're filming or something, and it's just like, how does this guy do it, man?
There's a lot of in between there that doesn't happen. I can't Instagram my naps, so I can't put those on there. But yeah, I mean, just I don't know, background. That's about pretty much it. We can asterisk the multicultural, the immigrant background, because I'll segue into that when we get into the body language topic.
Okay.
And I guess that's about it. A little bit summary on me.
Something I'm curious about too is, how did you get involved with NowRep and the I Am Katy Texas network? Because I've met you, I saw you at both.
Right.
I know at least with the I Am Katy Texas, I know Charles. I saw Charles there. He was just kind of like, "What are you doing here?" Because I live in Pearland down south, which is like an hour away from you guys. So I was a little surprised I was out there too, to be honest. But I'd like to know kind of a little bit about your history with them and how'd you get involved with those organizations.
Yeah, so that all just came about with networking itself in general. And again, it's connected. I think we said we want to talk about this with starting your own business.
Got you.
And it was just me trying to find, where the hell do I get my clients? I said hell. Can we cuss? We can cuss.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I said, okay. Where the hell do I find my clients? And where do I get it? And just because I knew that I was trying to sell body language, I kind of took more of a approach of, okay, there's websites, there's social media and everything, but if I'm trying to sell body language, then I need to go show body language, which is me being in person, going to connect, which some people get it, some people don't. For some people, it's easy. But the way I got involved with them was I Am Katy Texas is an older organization. They've been around for that core group. I want to say 2 or 3 years already. And then until this year, they rebranded, they changed. but it's still almost the same leadership. I am part of that leadership. I'm part of the directors, the media chair there. And then kind of same way with NAREP. I just kind of got, networking and met all of the people. And now they're Charles, Veronica, Matt, and a lot of other people, Denny, who are now leadership. And kind of this year kind of all got together. We're all just very good friends. And it just so happened that we could all do a lot of things and even better together. So we just kind of got together, and I hopped on as I'm advisor with NAREP on their board. And again, I just help with their media stuff, getting out the messages, make sure people know that what they're doing there is amazing and that everyone has to know about it.
Well, I'll tell you this: the media that you guys are spitting out at NAREP is, you between you, if it's you and Matt doing it, my God, like I just look at it, I'm just like, oh,
We try.
So let's jump into, I guess that's a good segue to jump into the actual business side of it, So I know we've got your two tags right here, your Nonverbals and the Spin Yard Productions. Let's talk a little bit about those, my friend.
Yeah, so that's my two kind of businesses. Nonverbal is the main one. That's my profession. That's what I do. That's my passion. I'm not going to do anything else anytime soon at all until I die. I started that already. I'm in it 4.5 years. And so the way I got into it was I found them the story that I always tell people is how I got into it was Netflix. So that's how I stumbled across body language. There's a show called Lie to Me. I don't know if you ever heard of it.
Yes.
Lie to Me. Yeah. Yes. So it used to be on Netflix, the full thing. I just started watching that once a couple summers ago and started picking up on the lingo, the verbiage that they were using. And I literally, this is how it happened. I went to Google, I typed in micro expressions. I looked at the top 3 websites, and one of those top 3 websites is now my mentor's website. I got into their content. They have a lot of good content. They have an amazing YouTube channel. I think when I got in with them into it's a behavior lab called The Science of People. That's what they're called. My mentor is Vanessa Van Edwards. She's a huge keynote speaker in that area, does a lot more than just body language, behavioral science. They run behavioral studies. They do it all in-house. And she started this. This is from scratch. This is her being already going on her 13, 14 year as an entrepreneur herself. And so that's how I got started. I got into it. Her deal was she started to get big. Like she was getting a lot of inquiries. She started speaking overseas. She was getting a lot of inquiries and could not fulfill them all just because it was herself. Her genius and grand idea was to let me make a program, kind of license the material and a lot of the stuff that she's done herself, a lot of the studies.
Okay.
Base it off of science, the facts, the stuff that comes from colleges and all these psychologists, and let's put it all together, package it, and give it to other people to use so they could use it on their own, which is where I came in from. I was actually in her first class back in 2015, beginning of, and you have to get accepted. You go in, you run an application, they take a look at you, they see what you want to do with it, and it's not really a harsh application or process. But people get filtered out, which is one of the things that I love. Just like relationships, that process to get in is kind of filtered out. If you really want to do this, you eventually stick to it, and then you go through certification, finish. That's what I ended up doing with that. That's how I got started there. 4 years. Immediately after, with body language, I got really close with my mentor. She was actually she spoke down here in Texas. So she's from Portland, Oregon. That's where Science of People is based out of. Okay. And while I was going through the training, I had some inquiries, some questions about some of the studies and stuff that we were using. And she's really good at being transparent. She said, no, this is an older study. This doesn't hold validity anymore. This is what we use now. And I just made a small comment. I was like, this is kind of what I love about this. What we do, it's science. It changes. It keeps moving. You have to stay up to date with it. And I just kind of like I found my geek in studies and finding out the why of things, which why I mentioned earlier, going back to, I wanted to originally be a mechanical engineer because I wanted to find out how and why things in machine work. And now I just shifted my focus, my curiosity to, I want to find out how and why humans work, which is the behavioral side, body language, and how we communicate. And so with that, kind of went into that. I actually got connected with her from that conversation of, the good science. Later on, about 6 months of getting certified, I got inquired of kind of coming onto her team, her core team, and running original research, which is why sometimes I introduce myself as a published researcher, because I got to do work with her, with the Science of People. That went on. Yeah, like I got excited, I got giddy because it's something that I loved. Like I got a couple projects, digital projects that I did on. The very first one that I ever did, my rookie project, actually was based off of Shark Tank and sales, right? Shark Tank, for those who haven't watched sales, right? You're trying to get in there, trying to get another investor to come on board with you. You got to build this safe platform, this trust of, we took a look at everything, the product, the person, the delivery, the pitch, the negotiation, everything. And so we wanted to realize and solve the puzzle of, what are these entrepreneurs doing that they're going in there and some are getting deals, some are not. Why is it that someone goes in there, two people could go in there and pitch a baby clothing line, one gets the deal and one doesn't, right? What was the difference? What are they doing different? So that was my rookie project, and it took a while, but it also, after a while of being released, they did a white paper on it, and it got released on their blog, they had a video, but they wanted some PR push behind it, and it actually got picked up by Entrepreneur magazine.
Nice.
So yeah.
Nice, dude.
My very first, that's the good part of, research, published researcher. My very first research project with Shark Tank got pushed into Entrepreneur. It made the front cover title on Entrepreneur magazine. So it's the October 2016 issue. I have like 1 or 2 copies of it. Yeah, but in October 2016, they got featured. It made the front title on the front porch, and it got a whole sheet spread inside the magazine as well. So it got printed, and it got pushed out digitally on all of their platforms. And that research, also the purpose of the research actually was because my mentor at that time was publishing a new book with Penguin Random House, a big publisher.
Yeah. So
they asked for more original research that came from her, so that way her words, her examples, everything in that book was directly from her. And that research as well got put into the book as well. I have 2 or 3 other projects that I did. They're all in the book, and then Shark Tank got published in Entrepreneur magazine as well.
Okay, nice, man. Wow, that is awesome. That's kind of the dream, you do something you love so much and then get it out there published for people to see, that's what I'm trying to do.
It's huge. It's a good feeling. It's a good experience. I want to say I almost kind of got spoiled, because a lot of people, when you start anything and you're trying to get that traction, you're trying to get that attention, you're trying to do something good, and then to have that kind of opportunity, be fortunate enough to get on my mentor's team and be behind that name and that brand has helped a lot too in my building of my business in 4 years.
So let me ask you this: are you still on her team and everything? Like, is the same or?
Yeah, I haven't done any projects with them recently in the last couple of years. Actually, maybe 1 or 2. I know she's had a couple of shifts and changes within her own business, which is what I love. She's not only very behavioral savvy, but she's also very business savvy. So because I've also ramped up in my business, I haven't been able to really be part of that team as well.
Gotcha.
But I mean, I not only that, I also try to help here and there because of the training program. It goes about once or twice a year for people who are applying. Sometimes I'll try to get back and get involved and maybe talk to one of the new trainers or act as a mentor if I can. For people who are just like, okay, speaking is kind of like a broad general topic, right? There's a lot of speakers on various topics, consulting the same way. But when you get into, okay, speaking for the part of your trying to establish yourself as a behavioral expert, specialist, whatever it is you want to call themselves, some people kind of have that, what do they call it? The imposter syndrome. They're like, well, this is something new. How do I ramp up? What do I do with this? And, been there, done that. I experienced that too. I was like, I don't have a college studies. I don't have a college diploma in psychology or behavioral, but that kind of goes in with the whole immigrant thing. There's a lot of experience going in there, being from an immigrant family coming here, that I'll just say very quickly, there's an understanding of, you start dealing with all kinds of people. When you get here, you have the language barrier, you have the culture barrier, you have all these barriers. But after a while, I mean, I've been at it since I was little. Like whenever I was the one for my family, the little kid, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, that I would have to translate. So I got put in adult situations such as doctor visits, car buying, insurance, yada, 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 as a translator for my parents. And here I am dealing with adults as I'm little trying to translate. So that kind of was good experience, at the beginning. And again, going through school, seeing all the different groups, the little cliques that you see, and like I would just sit there. I was in the middle of it. I was kind of like a chameleon. I could talk to the goths, I could talk to the preps, I could talk to the jocks, I could talk to everyone, and like I was just a fly on the wall. And people were like, oh, "Okay, there's Jose." I wasn't here nor there, and that's also I think was really good experience into kind of dealing with people now. So to now where it's kind of like a flat line, to me, you're human.
Mm-hmm.
And as you act or react and you engage and you communicate, what you say and what you don't say,
Mm-hmm.
all comes back to me as valuable information. And then I take that and process it. So it's that little journey goes in there being plugged into now with what I do and how I treat with people and how I network. It all just kind of string together perfectly for me.
Okay, so I do have one question for you.
Yeah.
Can anybody bullshit you?
They can.
Okay.
They can and they will.
Okay.
The important thing to me now is, do I care? Is it is it valuable information to me?
Yeah.
Is it going to affect me? Which is why I wish and I hope a lot of people kind of take that approach, because you do get that person that's like, oh, whatever, it's all me and blah, 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 blah. No one can bullshit me. I can sniff it. But I see it. I will see it. I will call out. Here and there, I will play around with it because I do take it very serious with
Mm-hmm.
friends. If I tell someone like, do you really want the chicken wings or do you want the burger, right? Or something like that. I'm looking at them. But I try to tend and catch everything. I only had 2 pair of eyes. If I'm networking or if I'm dealing. But if it's an important topic, if I'm negotiating, if it's something that's going to affect me, that's when I will pull out the big gun, so to speak, and I'm really paying attention. I will ask as many questions as I can.
Mm-hmm.
And typically, I mean, we all lie, like the BS. We all lie.
Yeah.
So it just depends why.
Yeah.
It all just depends why, what we're lying, what their intention is, which is what I try to tend to get out of people anywhere from the first time I met you, your first impression, the first time I lay eyes on you,
Mm-hmm.
to the first 5 minutes, the first 5 days I'm talking to you, or the first 5 hours or first 5 days, kind of builds up. After that, we kind of know like, okay, this person's not for me. This person is for me. I do want to do business with them. I don't want to do business with them. Which again goes back to those filters that we should try to have with people. I try to tend to push a lot of information and attention on the first impressions, because that says a lot with the people that you do business with. And again, before you even speak, before you even say hi, before you even introduce yourself, before you even shake a hand, a lot of times we get that inkling, that inner gut feeling of this person is yes or no for me.
No, I love it, man. That's such good advice. I mean, do you even care anymore? Because I mean, we're so focused, on trying to please everybody, trying to do everything. It's like, why? Just you got to do what's good for you. Now, that's something I try to preach on, because I mean, in this industry, in the accounting industry, it is client facing, and we take care of our clients and everything. But at the same time, there's this whole problem of scope creep, which is, you've got your engagement letter. This is what I'm doing for you, and that's it. And then, of course, just like everybody, you're going to try to get as much as you can out of it. And sometimes, you give a little bit, but then there are those situations where you'll have that client that'll come in and be like, hey, I need this big project. I want you to do it for free. It's like, whoa, like, hey, no, we got to kind of, and then you got to be able to have that conversation. And, at the same time, and if they're not happy with it, you got to be like, okay, then maybe the relationship isn't going to work anymore.
Not a fit.
Yeah, it's not a fit anymore. And that's right there, not a fit. Those words are the hardest thing for people in this industry to do, my friend, because I mean, and I get it, you're hungry, you're trying, I'm sure you did too. At first, you're out there, you're growing, you're like, man, okay, business, give me business,
everything.
Give me business, whatever comes in, yes, but once you reach a certain threshold, you're like, I don't want to deal with the BS anymore. Like, you underpay me, you ask for too much, you treat me like crap, and I've got other clients that really value what I'm doing. Let me focus on them instead of focusing on my energy on with you. So I love it. I mean, that's just a big thing that we're trying to kind of push in this industry now. It's like, be selective of who you choose, because if you don't, yes, when you're first starting off, take what you can, but once you get to that certain point, because I worked for a company that was just like, every business is good. And so we got into some deals that, oh my gosh, I think, they were bad. We spent 2 weeks on it, didn't get paid up for it.
I can imagine. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it was that mentality of, more and more and more. And it's just like, no, every business is not good business.
Yeah, no.
And so, I love it, man. I love it. You are hitting it right on the spot of what we're trying to kind of do in this industry. We're trying to disrupt it, because like I said, it's a lot of that old school mentality. And some of it's good, but you got to be open to change a little bit as well. You
Yeah.
know? So
Yeah. Can I add some lingo to that? Like I just said, it's not a fit on for people who any business.
yeah.
Any business as you're growing. I think one, there's an understanding of what you need, what you want. At the beginning, yes, we're trying, like you said, we're all trying to grasp anywhere we can, anywhere we can get it. But as you grow a business and grow yourself, you should tell yourself first and foremost that yes, you have the ability to ask for more later, especially if you had the experience and you had the years and you start seeing, and I'm starting to learn this with the other side of the business that I have, and we'll speak of that later, the media side. You have the ability to charge more, to ask for more later as you move on. So some of the lingo that I use with my clients, especially for body language, still to this day, and I told myself this year, I'm not taking any free engagement, free speaking. Like I have a minimum. And if that's within your budget, then we could do the minimum. Then that's what we'll do. So I try to use I don't do anything pro bono.
Okay.
That's the language I use if anyone asks for free, because I don't like using for free. It's kind of slimy sometimes. So I use, I don't have any pro bono speaking engagements. This is what I could do. This is my minimum charge. This is my minimum fee. And then, if it doesn't work out, even at that rate, then that's when I say, hey, look, let's check these logistics out. Let's see if it's that, and let's see if it's a fit. Because then I give that person kind of like the language to talk back. You're like, it's not a fit. This won't work for us. Instead of, saying, because sometimes people feel bad that they can't pay, especially for a good content or good service. And they really want it, especially if it's a group like, oh, this is going to be good for my team, my group, whatever. But they can't afford it. And then you are giving them that lingo to say, you know what, this is not a fit right now, instead of saying we can't afford it, because they don't want to sound like a company that doesn't have a budget or doesn't have money.
Yeah.
So when you give people that lingo and you insert it yourself, it's kind of like showing like you care. You're catering to them on the small little level of just lingo and words. So I don't do stuff pro bono, and let's see if it's a good fit for us. Those are some of the stuff that I use, and it goes a lot in emails. I use it all the time.
I love it. And if you guys that are listening or watching, I hope you rewind it to where we started this and take those notes again, because that is Jose, that is some of the most valuable information I have heard in a long time, man. And it's all here. So I'm going to brag a little bit about it. So, but no, you're right, because that's, and you kind of put the ball in their court a little bit, and you kind of like let them know, hey, it's not a good fit. It's not a good fit now. Not that it's not a good fit. It's just not a good fit now. And let's talk maybe here when you guys maybe have a little bit more, your cash flow is a little bit better, and you've got the budget for it this time. So, no, I love it. I love it. I mean, I'm telling you this. I'm going to go back and take all those notes. I mean, I'm adding all that lingo to all my stuff now. So, my friend. So let's talk a little bit about the media side. How'd that come?
That came out again dealing around with other entrepreneurs, being around with my mentors. For the last 3 or 4 years, we've gone to we call it a trainer retreat. So any other trainers from all around the world, because this training program caters to people all around the world. We do a conference up in Portland called World Domination Summit. And it's not as threatening as it sounds, but it's called World Domination Summit, and it's catered towards the traveler, the entrepreneur, the blogger, the very open-minded, free-spirited type of people who go there and kind of want to get a new idea out and going. And a lot that I've learned from there, and especially from my mentor, is if you're going to go on your own, start a business or grab an idea that you have, make sure it's something that you're good at, like a hobby. Like that's the majority of I've hoped people would start, especially in the last couple of years where entrepreneurship has picked up. People will go off a hobby or a problem that they have that's passionate about, because that's how you start. So media for me was just, I grew up, I was the person in my family who knew when cell phones started to come out, the smartphone, who knew everything about the smartphone, knew everything about the cameras, the apps, and the whatnot, the software. I'm not an expert in that, so to speak, on the cell phone side, but I was the most versed and knowledge about that topic in my family. So, and still now to this day, anytime new phones come out, all the Samsungs, all the iPhones, I'm picking up on the specs, I'm picking up on what's the difference. And I'm the one that my family asks, hey, how do I even work my phone? So that just came out of that natural ability to know about technology, how it's been moving. And I think for my era, the way I came up from high school, college and all that, the communication, the social medias, I was kind of like one of the first adapters in that, Facebook, YouTube, all that started coming up, the way it grew up, and seeing it now, how people treat it, the way it tied in so perfectly, so good with body language and communication. the way we as humans now communicate online digitally, and what we do with that information, how we get information. And then I'm really highly obsessed. This is why I make content, original content, on how we get people's attentions and what we do with it. Because a lot of our attention right now is on screens, is on digital. And everyone's doing it, whether it's social media, streaming, whatever you want to consume content. And so within the last year, I realized that, hey, you know, technology is kind of good. Anyone has a good smartphone, anyone has a good camera, you should be able to put out this kind of content. And then, excuse me, tied in with networking, I had a group, like I'm Katie, I had a group of business owner professionals who a lot of them did not know how to get on social media, did not know how to produce a piece of content, and did not know how to be consistent with that kind of production. So I just started talking, giving out free information, consulting here and there. And my mom would always tell me, she's like, you know this too much. You know about apps too much to be doing it for free. She told me this way back, years back. So finally, I was like, you know what? You know, one of the other tips for entrepreneurship, people who make big revenues don't only have one stream of income. So I was like, okay, why not? Let's see. You know, I'm already doing it. I have a little pool of business owners here that I could maybe test on and help and work on pricing and what I could do. So that's how that came about, with just my Katy, Texas group, and trying out there. One of the first people I helped out was a franchise gym. And the guy had a couple of gyms, and I'd say, hey, let's, you know, I'll be in there. Let's take a couple pictures, videos. I'll start posting on your social media, see how it goes. And that there was just building it. I think that the most important for me is just starting it, getting that traction. The first, you know, I always think of the first 100 posts, especially if it's Facebook or Instagram. Let's get that account up to, let's make 100 posts, and how long does it take us to do that? And then what the reaction from your audience is, and then especially at the very end, what the ROI is. What return is it? Is it getting you memberships? Is it getting you money? Is it getting you contracts? Because that eventually is what you want to do, especially for a business. So that's how that got started. I just got dipped into it. I myself, just out of gear, out of bad habit, like any other camera person, started buying stuff. So I bought a camera, I bought lenses, I bought mics, I bought lighting, everything. And I was like, how can I put this all together? How does it help people? And I mean, that kind of just spiraled down to that within the last year and a half. I will say another big impact of it has been here where I'm at right now, where I'm filming. You've been here before at the radio station, Matt Velasquez, 9:20 a.m. They've kind of been moving in that direction too, where they're a radio station, but they're really producing other content, live streaming, podcasts, videos, green screen right behind me, as you can see. So me and Matt just kind of going back and forth, that partnership, that friendship that we have. We're always talking on, like, you know, what we can do, and also try to keep it, I think, at a low cost for people, because yeah, there's the good production companies out there. There's people who've been doing it for a long time. They know the cost of a camera. They know the cost of the hours. But again, like, people could produce a lot of stuff with just a cell phone. You don't have to be a production company, right? Cell phone, a good tripod, a good desk tripod, and a good lavalier mic from Amazon. Under 30, 50 bucks, you can have your own production at home, right? So that's kind of like the angle that I like to take myself. I'm like, look, I do have some good equipment. Recently, one of my purchases was a gimbal stabilizer for my camera, and that's kind of pricey, right? But still, if I do enough at a lower kind of end cost, you know, and really work with that person and really get them on what they want to do with their content, then we could all keep it low cost and still be able to help you. And I say you have to try it with content creation. You have to try it in chunks, because you're not gonna get something back within 2 or 3 days, weeks, or something like that. So I always talk people in chunks of months. Let's try it for 3 months, 6 months. Let's see what comes out of it and if it's going to help you. So, and again, just with the communication bit of the human aspect and making content, being transparent, showing your face, and really talking to people, because if you don't know by now, video is huge on any platform. So putting your face out there, which I learned that a lot of adults, business owners, CEOs, if you want to call them, have an awkward time in front of a camera. Deliver it. We have a lot to say as a business owner, as a marketer, salesperson, whatever you, promotional, 30, 20 seconds, 60 seconds. People take hours to just make a 60-second video on just the delivery. Like, oh, I messed up. Let me start again. Oh, I don't know what to say. Oh, no, that didn't sound right. And that tying in the body language, the delivery, the how you want to say something, not what you're saying, doesn't matter. It's how you deliver it, getting it on camera, and then producing it for them. That itself, to me, when I clashed that together, I was like, that is a premium fee for me. because anyone could produce videos for you. Again, there's a lot of production companies, but when you have the body language guy behind the camera giving you pointers on how to deliver your message that needs to get out because you have a really great idea, a really great product or service. For me, I could probably say that I'm probably 1 out of 10 maybe in the States that kind of combines the two services together. So I get excited and I get a little scared because I'm like, how big can I take this with a production company that's also going to help you deliver? And I've already done it. I've been helping people, some friends, and even just like headshots. You know, some people are like, hey, I can take a headshot of my group, my team. They're maybe a little awkward in the bunch here, but if you help them, you know, kind of loosen up, kind of work on a real smile, what that looks like, that translates to, you know, if they're using their headshots for the website and people are going to your website and they see your team and your team looks like they have RBF, the resting bee face, or they look like they're going to kill someone, that's a first impression for your business, your service, that you may or may not want. So getting the body language guy to have a camera to take decent portraits, but also really portray that business, that person that's on your team as a warm, competent, likable, approachable person, that like just takes your first impression of your business or any business service to another level, because you're being mindful, you're being actual conscious of what you're putting out, whether it's your team, your face, your services, whatever it may be, that goes into that service. So yeah, tying those two together has been, and it still is, very exciting for me because I still have a lot to do with it.
So I did want to ask you kind of on a personal note, what gimbal did you get?
I tried out the Ronin, the DJI Ronin.
Okay, do you like it?
I like it. I like it because, pro tip or life hack, DJI allows you to buy straight from their website and do payments on it.
Oh, nice.
Yes. If anyone hasn't tried that, if you want a drone, or if those people, if you want one of the stabilizers of their phones, you can go on there and then use a third-party application company called Affirm. I don't know if you've ever heard of this one. Affirm, yeah. So Affirm actually has grown a lot since I first found out about it. I bought a DJI Spark from them. And when it got released, I was like, let's just say I have the $800 in my account right now. Let me go through the whole checkout service. And lo and behold, when I got to the end, it says, how do you want to pay? PayPal, credit card, Affirm, third party. I was like, what is this Affirm? So I clicked it. I went down the process. They check your credit. They're like, hey, you're approved for the whole amount. I was like, wait, so I can make payments on something? And then that's another reason why I decided to make a business out of it. I was like, well, I'm not paying for this drone, even if it's a payment, someone else is. So I started out by doing aerial shots of like people's ranches or property, charging for that. And that's how I covered the payment monthly for the drone. And eventually got to pay that off. So
I love it, man.
Yeah.
I love it. I say, you are a hustler, my friend. I love it, man. I love it. That's the thing that excites me the most, man, is just seeing people like you out there just hustling, you know, that's like, I got this idea. F it. I'm going all in. You know, I love it, man.
So let me add another lingo to it. And I got that one from my dad, the one I just mentioned. I'm not paying for it. With like the drone example, I'm not paying it. Someone else is paying for it, even though I'm making the payments. I learned that from my dad. My dad, when I used to work with him, that's another thing I used to do back in the days. He's an independent contractor. And anytime he wanted a tool, like if he wanted a new saw or something, you know, I think the example, the one that stands out for me was we were going to do a bathroom, a shower for someone is going to be tile, but they wanted this fancy tile and he had to buy a new saw. He had to buy a new blade for it. He's like, well, I'm not paying for it. This project's paying for it. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, if you charge for it, that's an upcharge, right? The more the better your services get, the more you do, the more equipment you have, the more you provide value, the more you're allowed to charge because it's covering your back end. So I think that was another important lesson that I learned when I was little. I was like, I'm not paying for it. Someone else is paying for it. That drone, the gimbal, I'm not paying for it. Someone else is paying for it.
I love it. Oh my God. I mean, you were just throwing gems left and right, my friend. I mean, it's like haymakers of information coming at me. You know what I mean? I love it.
Take notes.
Oh yeah. If you're not taking notes, I suggest you re-listen to this because this is some good information. Right here. So I do want to just, so I guess what got you started did you know you wanted to be your own boss, an entrepreneur? Did you is that something maybe, so I heard you say your dad was an independent contractor, so I'm guessing he had his own business. Is that kind of what got you going in that route, or what got you started, you know, taking this route instead of just like, oh, let me go get a cushy job, you know, with a 401k and everything and whatnot?
Right. Entrepreneur, to me, I think the first time I heard it, the word itself was like 10, 11, 12 years old. I didn't know what it meant. It was just a big, long word with a lot of letters. And then I found out what it meant as I grew up, you know, in school and high school. And then it just started to sound as a dirty word. Like, I still don't use it. I don't like being labeled an entrepreneur. But the very first, that was my first impression of it, what it meant, what it is. It was a dirty word. And then as I got to read and find out about people, I was like, I probably would hear more stories about the people who didn't make it as an entrepreneur or as a business. And that's probably why it became a dirty word to me. And I was like, wait, so you're telling me people are risking it all to start, but then I would read about a certain story and I was like, and they didn't make it. But then again, like now, we like to read why they didn't make it, right? So we can learn. We learn from those lessons, which is why entrepreneurship is good now, because you could go back and look at anyone's story, see the patterns, and you could go back and reverse engineer. This is what you don't do. And there's a lot of people out there now giving that information. I think if you're an entrepreneur and start your business, there's no excuse not to not know why these reasons. So that's the first time I ever had like interaction with entrepreneurship. My dad, of course, has been running his business since 2000. His business is Millennium Home Services, which is why he started in 2000. And for himself, it was not as, he didn't like having a boss either, didn't have to check in. He knew a lot more than what he was paying for. He's very well studied, air conditioning, electricity, a lot of things, and a lot of things he learned. Again, he has been a good example sort of why I started. Excuse me, but I'll get into it on why he was actually the reason, one of the reasons why I got into just doing my own thing. But my dad was the person that he, you know, air conditioning, refrigeration is his big thing. He'll go fix AC or do maintenance, whatever. But then he would start running into things where like he would have to bust open a drywall to get to a pipe and fix it and do that. And he didn't know how to do drywall, so he had to go get someone else to do drywall for him. But his smart brain idea was like, well, what did I learn to do drywall? That way I could charge for the drywall and it's all in one, right? And I'm offering all these services. So that's how he learned drywall, plumbing, and all these other things, to where now he offers multiple things. So I going back and reverse engineering that, you know, dissecting that, I was like, that's very smart of that, or anyone who does that. You know, you can do it in-house or go hire someone to do it. And at the beginning, if you don't know how to do something, you should probably do that. Hire someone else, right? To make it easy to have good service, good customer service. But as you go, if you know that you could learn something, if you spend the time to learn a certain technique and spend the money, if you need to get schooling or education or programs, whatever, do that. Because again, you're not paying for that. You'll pay for it at the beginning. But as you move forward, you could charge more and earn that back, right? The big idea of that. So yeah, starting my own business, I kind of I was in a restaurant business for a long time. That's, you know, teen years growing up. And I moved up that ladder. I lasted as a busboy a whole 30 minutes before my boss said, hey, the restaurant's full, start taking orders, you're a waiter now. And then I just learned every other bit from the restaurant business. I learned bartending, I learned cooking, cashier, I did it all. I moved up in the restaurants and eventually became a manager because, again, people skills in restaurant. You don't profit tips. You don't profit unless you have people skills. It's not how good the food is. It's not how good the drink is. It's not how pretty the restaurant is. It's you. You could work in a crappy restaurant and make really good tips. And I have studies. The cool thing, full circle for me, I have studies in body language on how certain things affect the tip, like down to the percentage levels on how much people make per tip compared to one another, depending on how you treat people, how you approach people, body language as well. Did I lose you there for a minute?
I think you're breaking up a little bit.
Okay, there we go. I got it.
Okay.
So after, okay, we could pause for a bit. Let's see. How about now?
Okay, I think we're good. Yeah, I got you.
We're good. Okay. All right. So yeah, that was some of my background too. The last jobs I had before I got out of that, I didn't like it. And it was just too much. The hours, you know, the manager hours, I was there 5-6 days, 4 days a week. I open and close. So I was like, okay, let's not do that anymore. I got to cut out of that and just, you know, the soft spot instead of searching for something else. I went to go work for my dad. And with my dad, I was always, again, the people person. You know, I was always a front desk type of person, invoicing. If anything went wrong, if people had complaints, I had to deal with it. So conflict management, really big lesson in that, again, ever since I was little. And then finally with my dad, you know, it kind of got that boring stage after I was like, I'm not going to be sitting and driving in a truck the rest of my life, right? As much as I learned from him, as much as I got out of that, I'm happy to say I know how to use a screwdriver. I know how to use a shovel. I know how to do all that. That's, to me, those are valuable life lessons. But it just so happened that my intention was with mechanical engineering again, go to school here locally, do the community stuff, get the basics, and then go do mechanical engineering either at U of H or A&M. But this kind of opportunity where the training program for body language hopped up. I started watching Netflix one summer, and I kind of fell into it. And it was all from that point on till now, I think is all perfectly threaded for me, where I went and watched Netflix, went on Google, found, what microexpressions was, found my mentor, fell down her rabbit hole. Immediately after they decided to announce that they were opening their first body language trainer program. I got into it, I got accepted. And, from there on, as you could say, the rest is history.
Yeah.
So it's not so much that I was looking to start my own business, but I think I was maybe one of the few fortunate that I found the passion first, because that's how I got started. I off of Netflix. People say, "How did you?" It's Netflix. That's how I found it. I don't know how many businesses get founded off of Netflix, but yeah, it resonated a lot with me. The filters that they have to really get you through the application process, to really get you to pay, because it's a paid program, and stay, and then do the training, get certified, come out doing research projects and all that. Again, I would say, quote unquote, it was a perfect start for me doing that. And so a couple years later, I found out, I had a little bit of a cushion from start working with my dad, started in the business as far as financial wise. I had a little bit of a cushion, which again, not a lot of people get. A lot of people are strapped. I know that part. People are like pulling, they will sell their homes, they will sell their babies to start a new business. I kind of was, again, fortunate to have that little cushion in the first 1 or 2 years to really get that going, to have my time, to not have to worry about the back end.
Yeah.
And that was just another very fortunate family event that happened, where we all got a really big cushion at that time. But then, it started to get to the point where I was like, okay, you need to make sure as a good business owner that your business stays lucrative, which is why I started learning the whole lingo. I was like, you know what? I can't do a pro bono event right now, and this is the minimum, and blah, 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 because I do want that transaction. I do need it. I've paid for my training. I've made my time. I've done more than my training. I'm a published researcher. So those kind of things, is kind of like the little self-dialogue that I have. It's like, you know what, you need to keep this business lucrative, because this is what you want to do. Any one word comes out of your mouth that's body language, someone's paying for it. Unless I do like interviews where people ask me, right, just to give that hook. But when and if people want this information, it is now a business transaction. It is my time. It is my prep. It is my knowledge that people are going to get. And I'm happy to deliver, because again, it's I could talk about it for free all day long.
Yeah.
But then I found out, through my other trainers that I speak of, my other colleagues, like, it's very easy to give out free information while you're networking, because sometimes people will test you like, oh, you're an expert, you know what you're talking about. Well, what does this mean? Or what is this? And we go off on like, we know what we're talking about. By the time you know it, you're like, well, crap, I gave out like 2 or 3 good tips that I could have charged for that person in consulting. So yeah, learning curve and becoming the business owner.
I will say this. I mean, that happens to me all the time. They're like, oh, you do taxes? Oh, well, let me ask you a question. I had this, and they come up with like the most complicated scenario. I'm like, man, that's like gonna take some research. Like, calm down. We can help, but I've gotten good to like, here's my card. Let's talk.
Yeah, let's talk.
I used to be like, oh yeah, you want this, and I'm like, wait a minute, what am I doing? So
yeah, it's. I think it happens to a lot of people, just because sometimes you do run to that person that wants to test you, or they want to find out if you are the real deal and helping in whatever topic. So they ask questions, But again, that's why you have to have, I think that's one of the smartest things that I've done and learned and got from my mentors, have these little dialogues, these scripts, that lingo, to kind of like, either you switch over to like, yes, this is business, no, this is casual. And really get people like, hey, you want more of this? Well, this turns into a consulting. That is a charge fee, right? So, you just have to be careful. Like, just to close in on, the question you asked, how did I get started? Was this something I want to do? It wasn't something, again, because I've always thought that entrepreneur was a dirty word. But the lesson there for me was like, once you go into it with passion, then you kind of figure it out. What do they say? Entrepreneurship is jumping off a cliff and building the airplane on the way down. That's kind of, reverse engineer, which is kind of how I do things now and then. But yeah, that's basically how I got into it with running the business. And now with the media side of things, it's kind of like I already have the structure. It's just a little bit different, because charging for media and your time and editing is a little bit different than consulting and speaking. But it's almost the same concept, which is why I'm comfortable on, those are my 2 businesses that I concentrate on.
No, I love it, man. I love it. It's a great story. I mean, Netflix. Who would think, this all started from Netflix. That's great.
Right.
Well, I hate to do this, but we got to get running. We're coming to the end of it. So I just want to say thank you for coming on, Jose.
Yeah, thank you.
You see, guys, Instagrams, his two,
All over.
mine. Follow us. And like I said, man, thank you for coming on, Jose. And anytime you come back on and talk, you're more than welcome to. Okay?
Maybe we could come back and do a couple actual body language tips or digital tips, online tips.
Yeah.